Some teachers help you learn, but some teachers make school a bad dream. Today, we will talk about the worst teachers ever. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it. This way, we can also honor the good teacher. The first teacher we'll talk about was a real monster. He gave students very bad punishments. This video will explain everything.
This teacher is a monster. So this kid, Ethan, was in first grade when he learned his teacher had the worst punishment ever. In this class, the teacher had something called the isolation box. It was a tiny old school desk shoved in the corner of the room, in between a bookshelf and a filing cabinet. And if you got sent there, you had to squeeze into the desk, and the teacher would block you in by pulling the filing cabinet to be flush with the bookcase. So essentially, you'd be stuck in this box. Now, Ethan thought this was like weird and pretty messed up, but he never really questioned it until one day it happened to him. He was talking during quiet time when the teacher snapped, "Ethan, oh, I'm so sorry. Go to the box now." Once Ethan sits down, she drags the filing cabinet to lock him in. Now, Ethan figured he'd be in there for 5 minutes, tops. But the lesson continued. 5 minutes passed, then 10 minutes, then 20 minutes. Ethan tried to move his legs, he was cramping, but there was no space. He tried to move in his chair, but he couldn't. He was wedged in there pretty good. That's when he realized he was actually stuck. "I'm actually stuck." He tried talking. I think I can't get out." But no response. It's as if the entire class was ignoring him. Finally, the bell rang. He thought he was free. But no, apparently the entire class left, and so did the teacher. Help me, somebody!" 10 more minutes pass. The teacher walks in the room and hears him yelling. Oh my God. Well, that's what happens when you don't follow the rules. Now go on. Ethan left the classroom, traumatized. Fast forward 15 years, Ethan is still living in the same town, but he has an incredible job and he's making fantastic money. One morning, he was heading to the office when he wanted to get some coffee. So he pulled up to the local coffee shop. "Yeah, I'm gonna get a large caramel cappuccino, please. Mrs. Johnson." "Ethan, hi." "Oh yeah, one cappuccino." He just smiles, and as she hands him his coffee, "Here you go." He grabs it and then grabs her hand. "Am I following the rules now, Mrs. Johnson? Am I following the rules now?" "Good coffee." He tips her a $20 bill and he leaves. "Have a nice life."
Ha ha ha. What a great revenge after 20 years. Children get hurt easily, and bad memories stay forever. They need kind treatment, not scary punishments. I really hate punishments that lock people up. Write a comment below to tell me if you like your teacher. Do you know what's scarier than a strict teacher? A dumb teacher. This video will explain everything.
So there was this teacher, strict, rule obsessed. Didn't matter what the rule was, if you didn't follow it, you were done. One day, the student, let's call him Marcus, starts coughing in class. He reaches into his backpack and pulls out his inhaler. Doesn't say anything, doesn't interrupt the class, he just takes his inhaler. And the teacher stops the entire lesson. "Excuse me, what is that?" "That's my inhaler, I have asthma." She walks over, takes it out of his hand and goes, "You can't just use things like this during my instruction. I'm putting this on my desk." Now, I forgot to mention that this teacher was kind of one of those super old mean teachers, so, you know, maybe she's losing it, because who would do this? Anyway, this kid tries to explain, but she doesn't care. She takes his inhaler and puts it on her desk. If it's that serious, go to the nurse. Otherwise, follow classroom rules. Marcus just sits there, wheezing, staring at the inhaler in front of the room. Well, after class, he actually goes to the nurse and tells her what happened. And the nurse is absolutely livid. She talks to the principal, she calls Marcus's mom, she files a report. Within 24 hours, there's a giant meeting at the school, and this teacher's there. No one knows exactly what happened in that meeting, but the principal pulled Marcus aside afterwards and told him that he was free to use his inhaler whenever he felt he needed to. Marcus never said another word to her in her class, but he used his inhaler whenever he wanted, and she didn't say a single thing. Now, this may not be related to what she did, but at the end of that year, that teacher retired. Good.
What do you think? Is she really stupid for not knowing what an inhaler is? This could kill someone. Sometimes, a substitute teacher can be a fun change. But on one day, a class had a substitute who was very strange. Her behavior became more and more scary, making the students feel afraid. This is the story of a teacher who was a real danger to everyone in the classroom.
One day, a class had a substitute teacher, and as the day went on, the substitute's behavior became increasingly weird. She was making the kids draw dead people who were cut open with a knife. The substitute would also start putting her hands around some of the kids' necks and squeezing hard, and then begin screaming things about Jesus. All the kids became afraid of her, and a group of brave students managed to sneak out of the class and go to the principal's office and tell them about the substitute. The principal came to the classroom not long after, and when he saw the drawings of dead people, he tried to get the substitute out of the classroom, but she refused. The principal then grabbed the substitute and tried to pull her out of the classroom, but then she started to bite his face and then took a big chunk off of his cheek. After this, the principal called for backup, and the substitute was dragged out of the classroom by multiple people. A few days later, all the kids' parents were called into the school for a meeting, and the school then explained that the substitute teacher was a psychopath and that she should have never been hired in the first place. Luckily, none of the students were hurt from this teacher, but sadly, the principal got his face bitten off.
This terrible story shows us that even in a safe place like a school, bad things can happen. It is good that the brave students went for help. The principal got hurt, but he stopped the teacher from hurting the kids. It reminds us to be careful and to get help when we need it. You've probably heard about some scary teachers, but the one we're about to talk about is the craziest and darkest of them all. This is the story of a high school prank gone terribly wrong, so stick around to the very end, because you won't want to miss a single second of this terrifying tale.
This is why you should never prank Miss T. Jay snuck into her house as a joke, set up cameras, wanted to go viral. He found weird things, animal traps in the hallway, a closet full of school uniforms, all the same size. In the attic, a chair bolted to the floor, facing a wall, carved into it. Sit still. Think about what you've done. Then he heard her voice, right behind him. You think this is funny? He ran, ducking under tripwires, dodging swinging axes. She wasn't chasing him. She was waiting. Every door he opened was already locked behind him. His phone went off. A live stream comment popped up. Nice prank. She's right behind you. He turned. Miss T was smiling, holding a ruler, and Jay was never seen again. Until someone hacked his stream and uploaded a new video. Detention? Forever?
It shows what happens when a simple joke turns into a nightmare. We may never know what happened to Jay, but the video he left behind is a terrifying message. It's a reminder that some pranks are just not worth the risk. Always be careful out there. Some people are truly evil, and they live among us. This is the story of Kadira Grigsby, a high school teacher who was supposed to help students. Instead, she became a real-life monster. She used her position to hurt vulnerable teens, turning a school into a place of nightmares.
I hope you get exactly what you deserve in prison, and you know what's gonna happen to you when you go to prison.
A Texas high school cosmetology teacher pretended to provide accommodations for troubled teens, then forced them to service men. More details have come to light in sickening detail. Kadira Grigsby, 42, was a teacher at Klein Cain High School, where she taught cosmetology. She would allegedly pretend to take troubled teens and runaway students to motel accommodations she provided, and then make them service 5 to 10 men a night. And police say she gave them a goal of making $1,000 a day. On top of that, she brought in her own son so he could sexually assault the girls as well. Investigators say they found text messages between mother and son discussing the girls with Zelle paying for them. Hundreds of other men were making deals on Grigsby's cell phone. Only one troubled girl has come forward to sue her and the school district for failing to protect her from this evil. Tetra has made bail while her son is still in jail, and Jane Doe is currently suing the school district because she says she let the authorities know about it months ago. And even more sickeningly, he used her arrest to tout his efforts to provide school choice in the state.
This story is beyond horrifying. If I had a teacher like this, I don't think I would ever want to go to school again. It's a sad reminder that we can't always trust the people who are meant to protect us. It also shows us how important it is for schools to listen to students and keep them safe. A teacher is often a good person who helps students, but sometimes, a teacher can be a monster in disguise. This is the story of Andre Chikatilo, a famous case about a killer who pretended to be a normal teacher. He was a very bad person who hurt many people.
Did you know a Soviet teacher murdered and ate 56 people while police executed innocent men for his crimes? Andre Chikatilo looked like any ordinary school teacher in 1990 when police finally arrested him at a train station. For 12 years, he had used his respectable appearance to lure victims to remote locations. It started in 1978 with one child murder, but his hunger grew stronger. He developed a twisted ritual, cutting out his victims' eyes because he believed they captured his image. The sexual torture and cannibalism became his signature across the Soviet Union. But authorities refused to believe a serial killer could exist in their perfect communist society. Instead, they blamed random men, executing several innocents while Chikatilo kept killing. When he finally confessed to all 56 murders, the details were horrifying. He described eating body parts and the specific ways he tortured each victim. In 1994, they executed him with a single gunshot to the head. His case exposed how broken the Soviet justice system really was. Dozens died because pride mattered more than truth.
Sounds scary, right? We can see how one bad person can cause a lot of pain. It is also a sad example of how the police made big mistakes. They hurt innocent people while the real killer was still free. This case is a warning to everyone to be careful. Next, we will talk about another teacher who did something very bad. This is the story of Gail Patterson. She was a teacher who was arrested for hurting children at school. She was a special education teacher, which means she was supposed to help students who needed extra care.
A teacher in the Fort Worth ISD has been arrested and charged with injury to a child disabled reckless bodily injury. She was arrested yesterday and released the same day after posting bond. Benbrook police investigated an incident at West Park Elementary School where a teacher was accused of grabbing two students, a boy and girl, by their throats. Police identified the suspect as Gail Patterson. Gail Patterson says she has been teaching in the classroom for 13 years. Before she moved into the classroom, she worked as a reading interventionist in Hurst Euless Bedford ISD, a reading and math tutor, and as a dyslexia facilitator for Fort Worth ISD. She loves teaching. She believes it is what she was meant to do. She enjoys all things related to technology. She worked very hard to create a very engaging classroom environment.
The family's attorney says they are calling for the teacher to be terminated and permanently barred from any school district. A website associated with West Park lists her as working in the special ed department.
Isn't that terrible? A teacher who was supposed to protect students could do something so bad. This story is a scary reminder of what can happen, even in our schools. It makes us think about who we can trust. We hope that the children are now safe and that the teacher is not allowed to work at a school again. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to help us do very bad things. This is a story about a teacher named Oliver Fell. A young boy told the school that she sent him bad messages, but the school did not believe the boy. They said he was lying and sent him home for 10 days.
Y'all, listen to this. It is such crap. This woman is 28-year-old Oliver Fell. She's a teacher at Hale Middle School in Bradenton, Florida. So on March 3rd, a 14-year-old boy reported to the school resource officer that she had been sending him some sexually explicit messages, including a topless photo. The school resource officer, of course, reported it to the school administrators, who did an investigation and then determined the boy was lying. They said he completely fabricated the story, so what they did was suspend him for 10 days. You know what their investigation consisted of? Asking her about it, and of course, she denied knowing anything about it. She said she had never sent that boy any kind of messages and that it wasn't even her Snapchat. So while he was on suspension for lying about this teacher, she was able to continue working. So the mom, of course, was like, hell to the no, and she reported it to CPS, who then notified the police. Come to find out, the school hadn't reported it to anybody. So detectives from the Manatee County Sheriff's Office opened an investigation. They got a warrant, so they were able to see data from cell phones and social media, and come to find out the boy was not lying. The Snapchat account absolutely was her, and they could see that the conversation at first was kind of casual, kind of playful and flirty, but then, just like he said, they became sexually explicit in nature. And on January 2nd, just like he said,
this story is very sad and scary. The boy was brave to tell the truth, but the people who should have helped him did not. They only asked the teacher, who said it was not true. Luckily, the boy's mother did not give up. She went to the police, who found out the boy was right. This reminds us that we must always believe and protect children. It also shows that we cannot always trust people in power. You've probably heard about students bullying other students. But what about a teacher bullying a student? It's even worse. A teacher is supposed to be a good person who helps you, but sometimes, they can turn your school life into a nightmare. This is a story about a teacher who was a hero to everyone, except for one student.
Who was the worst teacher you've ever had? In middle school, I had a science teacher named Mr. Howell. Everyone loved him. He wore mismatched socks, played guitar on Fridays, and made jokes about farting during volcano lessons. He called us by nicknames and brought his dog to class once. You couldn't find a single kid who had a bad thing to say about him, except me. At first, I liked him too. I thought he was fun. I laughed along with everyone else and didn't notice how often he looked through me when I raised my hand, or how his jokes sometimes came with a twist. One day, I brought in a project I worked on all weekend, this big trifold about renewable energy. I was proud of it. I even printed out charts and glued real leaves to the corners. When I presented, he smiled and said, "Wow, someone got help from their parents," then moved on before I could say anything. I didn't think much of it. Maybe he was trying to be funny, but it kept happening. Every time I answered a question correctly, he'd make a face and say, "Even a broken clock is right twice a day." If I stumbled, he'd fake yawn and say, "Anyone else want to try?" He called me encyclopedia, but not in a nice way, more like a punchline. The others laughed. They always laughed. And I started laughing too, just to keep from feeling humiliated. I laughed when he pretended to fall asleep during my presentations. I laughed when he gave me a B- on a test and said, "Looks like your brain finally woke up." Then came the science fair. I built a working model of a wind turbine, spent 3 weeks on it, learned how to solder, printed diagrams. I knew it wasn't flashy, but I believed in it. I remember wheeling it into the gym with shaky hands and standing beside it in my best button-up shirt. When Mr. Howell walked by, he didn't even stop, just glanced over and said, "That's ambitious. Hope it doesn't fall apart." It didn't fall apart. It worked perfectly. But when the ribbons were handed out, I got nothing. Not even a mention. The winning project was a volcano that exploded red glitter. I tried not to let it crush me. I told myself it didn't matter. But the next week, when someone asked why I didn't win, Mr. Howell chuckled and said, "Judges don't usually go for show-offs." That's when it clicked. It wasn't about the science, or the work, or me messing up. It was about me not fitting the type of kid he liked. I wasn't loud. I wasn't funny. I didn't play along with his games. I was just there. And to him, that meant I was disposable. Years later, I went back to visit my old school with some friends. We peeked into the science hallway, and someone joked, "Remember Mr. Howell? What a legend." I smiled and nodded.
Right? I told you it was bad. Teachers can make students feel like a joke, punish them in embarrassing ways, and more. When it happens, we often don't know who to tell. We can't fight back. And every day at school feels like a bad dream. It's important to talk about this so others can understand what it's like. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.